After making its last appearance on Gran Turismo 6, Trial Mountain is set to return to the GT series on Gran Turismo 7. In preparation for the track's re-emergence, let's take a look back at all the previous incarnations of the circuit, from the original Gran Turismo, right up until the present day, where we'll discuss what we know about the circuit before GT7's release next year. Trial Mountain was one of 11 original circuits that made up the list of courses on the original Gran Turismo back in 1997. It's based in a mountainous region and the circuit's location was unknown back then. Fans at the time assumed that most, if not all, tracks on the game were based in Japan though. The track was originally 2.5 miles long and is driven entirely on tarmac, as long as you can stay on the road that is. Yes, it's located in a mountainous region, but it also cuts through deep forestry. Due to this, the circuit has a series of blind corners, because of the trees, the rocks, and also the inclines, as you wind your way up the mountain. Despite this, it's still considered by fans as a relatively easy track to learn, but one that's not so easy to master. Naturally, it's a fan favourite due to it being present in the majority of GT games that have been released over the years, right from the very start. On Gran Turismo 1, it appears in numerous events, sometimes forwards, sometimes backwards, including some of the game's most difficult competitions, like the GT World Cup. However, it does not appear in any endurance races, which is perhaps why the pit lane is constantly closed. The highlight of the circuit has to be the final chicane, which gives you an opportunity to get some huge air. Although the arcade mode version features a jump on the back straight that's not present on GT mode, which is also really fun. Of course, Trial Mountain would return in Gran Turismo 2 in 1999. In fact, the only track that didn't cross over from GT1 to GT2 was Special Stage Route 11, which would go on to feature in Gran Turismo 3 instead. If you want to check out my top 10 tracks which I think should return to Gran Turismo, click the link in the description. Spoiler, SSR11 is one of them. Anyway, Gran Turismo 2's Trial Mountain is pretty much a carbon copy of the original version of the course. However, the pit lane is now open for business, and the course does actually hold an endurance race this time around. In fact, it's famously plagued by a glitch on the original NTSC version 1.0 release, where an incorrect opponent shows up in the event, the Vector M12 LM edition, a 680 brake horsepower monster in an event which is restricted to 295 bhp. Trial Mountain features in numerous events, notably race 1, 2 and 3 at the UK Nationals races, which led fans to think that the course is actually located in Great Britain, particularly Scotland, which is home to mountainous scenery quite like this. This theory would go on to be compounded by a certain addition to the course in Gran Turismo 4, which we will of course go on to discuss later in the video. Overall, Trial Mountain doesn't appear as frequently as it did on the first game in the series, as Gran Turismo 2 showcased a load of brand new tracks, and those courses generally get featured more heavily in the game's races, due to them being new to fans at the time of course. Although, aside from one endurance race, Trial Mountain does feature in the Gran Turismo World League, the Super Touring Trophy and the GT 500 Championship, which is probably one of the toughest series in the game. Gran Turismo 3 featured Trial Mountain once again. In fact, it was one of just 5 tracks that were carried over from the original Gran Turismo, with the other 6 tracks being discontinued for now. The layout of the course remained true to the original Trial Mountain, with most improvements being made to the scenery around the track. With the upgrading graphics that the PS2 offered, it's no surprise that way more detail was added to the course, really. So much so that there was a new inclusion of an Easter egg, a monkey that was sat on a tree which had fallen across the circuit, which you can see here using Gran Turismo 5's photo mode. One other difference to the circuit was the weather. Ever since Gran Turismo's inception, the course has had partly cloudy weather. And while that's still true for the normal trial mountain on Gran Turismo 3, the reverse version of the track is blessed with sunny weather. See, the sun does shine in Scotland sometimes. Trial Mountain appears in tons of championship races on the game, too many to mention here. But most notably, Trial Mountain hosts a race in both the Dream Car Championship and the Polyphony Digital Cup, two tough events on the game. It also hosts an endurance race again. This time, the player must drive for 2 hours solid, rather than completing 30 laps, as was the case on Gran Turismo 2. Okay, on to Gran Turismo 4 now, and the circuit has received yet more TLC to its scenery. One thing to look out for straight away is the bridge that goes across the circuit in Sector 1 after the first couple of corners. On Gran Turismo 3 it was present, but it was covered in rocks. This time around it has been transformed into an actual road bridge by the looks of things. It really gives you the idea that the circuit is part of the real-life world, connected to other places. Gran Turismo 4 again sees Trial Mountain hold numerous events, including a race from the Crossfire Trophy, the Shelby Cobra Cup, and the Japanese 70s Classics, as well as many more. Again, too many to mention in this video. Something else to try to spot among the scenery is a massive withered tree at turn 9. This is the long left-hand corner after the back straight. You can see it off course, past the right-hand section of track. This tree is still present on Gran Turismo 5 and 6 as well. Another notable inclusion to the scenery is the famous Loch Ness Monster, down at the hairpin towards the end of the lap. Nessie wasn't present on Gran Turismo 3, but she sure is now. As hinted at earlier in the video, this really added to the belief that Trial Mountain is based in Scotland. But as we'll find out later in the video, this is not the case. Keep watching to learn more. Next to Nessie, there are two men in a boat, another new addition to the scenery on Gran Turismo 4. Some people even consider this an Easter egg, and while I wouldn't quite go that far, it is a nice bit of detail. Also, watch out for the blimp that's floating above the circuit close to the final chicane. This was present on Gran Turismo 3 too, but GT4's new photo mode allows you to take a closer look. Trial Mountain would make its PS3 debut on Gran Turismo 5. And despite the track being ported over to next-gen consoles, it was actually very similar to the Trial Mountain that was present on Gran Turismo 4. In terms of the championships that the circuit featured in, its role is vastly reduced from Gran Turismo 4. It appears in the third race of the FR Challenge, the first race of the Gran Turismo All-Stars series, and the second race of the Polyphony Digital Cup. And that's it. It's such a short list that I even have time to name them all. All the same Easter eggs and details in the scenery are still present too. The monkey, Nessie, and the withered tree. The two men in a boat, and the blimp at the end of the track as well. Next time you're playing GT5, keep an eye out for them. One thing to mention about Trial Mountain on Gran Turismo 5 is that it's a particularly good opportunity to earn the rollover trophy. This is a bronze trophy which is awarded when you first roll your car over and onto its roof. The final chicane at Trial Mountain is the ideal place to earn this trophy, due to the infield section of track, at the second part of the chicane, the right-hander, being very steep. Despite Trial Mountain not undergoing any major surgery between Gran Turismo 4 and Gran Turismo 5, it was still good to see one of the 11 original tracks still make it into the game. In fact, only 2 of the original 11 tracks didn't make it into Gran Turismo 5. I'll give you a minute to guess which 2 tracks they were. Well done if you got it right. Special Stage Route 11 and Test Course. And this leads us nicely onto Trial Mountain's appearance in Gran Turismo 6. Before the trailer for Gran Turismo 7 dropped, GT6 was marked as the last game in the series to feature the circuit. Gran Turismo Sport didn't bring back any of the original 11 GT1 tracks, despite Kazunori stating that they were working on porting some of them to GT Sport at one point in time. Particularly Deep Forest, which is Kaz's personal favourite. Again, there are no major changes between Trial Mountain from Gran Turismo 5 to Gran Turismo 6. The circuit does appear in slightly more events this time around though. It's the second race of both the FF and FR Challenge. It's Race 2 in the Turbo Sport Series, Race 2 in the MR Challenge, and Race 3 of 3 in the Polyphony Digital Cup. As there's not a whole load more to say about Trial Mountain on Gran Turismo 6, I'll take the opportunity to explain what we're going to look at next, guys. We're going to talk about everything we know about Trial Mountain on Gran Turismo 7 so far. All we have to go on at the moment is the first trailer for the game, and also a few screenshots that were released alongside it. But fortunately, the trailer does give us a pretty good look at the all-new Trial Mountain. It doesn't show a complete lap, but it does show around half a lap, or maybe slightly more. Okay guys, let's get stuck in. So, Trial Mountain on Gran Turismo 7 is a bit different to what we all remember. For the first time in the circuit's history, there have been several changes to the actual layout of the track. Not just the scenery like before. In fact, our guide Sarah says that the track has a long history, but that it's been recently renovated. So let's discuss exactly what those changes are. There's no footage from the start-finish straight and the first few corners in the first sector, but we can get some information about them from the map of the track, which is also seen in the footage. Although it's not obvious just from looking, the home straight is now more than twice as long as it was, according to GT Planet. They also state that this change was likely necessary to accommodate the additional cars on track, as GT Sport could feature races of up to 24 cars, and so the pit lane needs to be extended in accordance with this requirement. Also, the home straight likely needed to be extended in line with the extension of the back straight, which we'll come on to later. There is a small change between turns 3 and 4 which we can actually see in the trailer. On the original Trial Mountain, the section of track between turns 3 and 4 was almost a continuous corner. But now, turns 3 and 4 are separated by a straighter length of track than before. Turn 4 seems a little tighter than before, and leads onto a longer section of straight to turn 5. Turn 5 used to be a blind corner, and there used to be a lot of camber and a pretty high curb on the inside, which are now both no more, thankfully. The rocks have been cleared from the inside of the corner, and it's also much flatter than before, making it an all-round easier corner. Sadly, we don't have any footage of the next few corners, so we can't say for sure whether the monkey is still in the tree. I hope it is, at least. The trailer then cuts to the back straight, which is a huge 75% longer than on previous games. There are now 2 tunnels, pretty much back to back, leading out into the wilderness once more, before braking for turn 9. There's no withered tree to be seen anymore, but what we can see instead is the trunk of a large redwood tree. This perfectly reflects the circuit's confirmed location in Nevada, USA, which was told to us by our guide Sarah. Turns 10, 11 and 12 seem quite similar to previous iterations of the course, and during the run up to the hairpin corner at turn 13, you can still see the lake that Nessie once resided in. It's shrunk a little, but there's still room for an Easter egg or 2 in there. Perhaps the most notable change to Trial Mountain is the final chicane, which comes after turn 13. It's now not a chicane anymore, but two separate corners, a left then a right. Just before that, we saw the entrance to the pit lane, and if we look on this image, we can also see another road to the left of the pit lane. I wonder what this could be. Perhaps another course at Trial Mountain? Or perhaps just a road to the paddock? Anyway, let me know what you think of the all-new Trial Mountain in the comments, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you for the next one.